All right. Okay. I am ready now. Is my camera working? Is my camera on? Am I there? I am there. All right. Welcome to CIT 225 Fall 22 semester. I am Brother Semic. Will be your guide on this journey that we're about to take in the world of databases. For those of you who did not read my intro, a little bit background on me. I started working in databases back in 2000. I was a drama teacher previously with my master's degree in acting. And then I got into databases because public education is great, but hang on a second, I got loud kids. Let me close my door here. All right. Okay. So I started into the world of systems administration, building computers, break fix guy, got into databases around 2001, and that's where I've landed. My other job that I have, my full-time job, is I am a database team manager for a company where I manage the Microsoft SQL database guys and the Oracle database guys. Okay, so that's me. I'm very much into science fiction and comic books. If you want to derail a conversation, bring up Doctor Who, bring up Star Trek, especially bring up Superman, and I can talk about that stuff for hours if you get bored of talking about databases. But other than that, we're here to learn about how to do database. So who here has taken a database course before? Okay, so you took the intro to databases? Okay. So what we're going to be talking about in this class is we're going to start with how to install SQL, MySQL. And for those of you who haven't installed it, let me share my screen here. Okay, so this is the preparation and reading page everyone here should be familiar with. A number of you have asked, how do I install MySQL on a Macintosh? It is completely possible. It is pretty tricky, but if you go here to install MySQL, it brings you here, and that's the link you got to do how to figure out how to install this on a Mac system. Not impossible, but you know, it's got a couple challenges to it. So what is a database? So just real quick. So I'll be using a lot of acronyms. I'll be using an acronym called RMDBS. RMDBS stands for Relational Model Database System. And so when you think about what a database is, right? An Excel spreadsheet is a database. Access is a database. The difference between Excel and Access is in Excel, you've got a document and you got tabs on the bottom, right? And each houses different data. And you can make them talk to each other, but it's not intrinsically built to do that. It's not supposed to be built that way. In your relational database model, your Access is your Microsoft SQL Server, your Oracles, your MySQLs. It's built to do that. Instead of having spreadsheets, you have tables, and the tables talk to each other. And we're going to go into a lot of detail about database design and how all that stuff works. So let's talk a little bit about how I run the class. It is an online class. Obviously, we never meet in person, unless anyone's in Orlando, Florida. We can hang. We meet on Wednesday nights, and on Wednesday nights, I will go over the lesson of the week. I'll answer any questions. I will give you demo code. I will probably give you answers to exercises and quizzes. And we'll talk about things that aren't necessarily in the syllabus of this class. I will talk about your basic structure and everything, but I will probably go off on a tangent like the inner workings of how databases work, which I think is terribly interesting. And I firmly think that if you understand how everything works under the covers, it's easy to understand why things happen the way that they do. on the screen. This class, you have a weekly writing assignment, which is a question you get asked. So let's look at that real quick. So this week's writing assignment is, where are we down here? Actually, a paper. So you get a weekly paper. It's basically a case study, 3 to 5 paragraph according to the case study, and you answer whatever question is here. Okay. This will vary with week to week. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This week is about how to use the command line interface tool. The command line interface tool is basically using this window here to run your MySQL server. I have yet to have a class where everyone gets this to work. If this doesn't work, don't sweat it. It's totally fine. Just skip over it and move on. Your paper this week is compare the command line interface versus this, which is your workbench, and which is better. I'm not going to tell you which I think is better. So prepare a report that explains clearly why using MySQL command line shell presents advantages and to productivity versus the thing on. I think this is slanted. I think it should be whether you like it or not. But so anyway, so every week you've got one of these. Every week you've got a quiz. The quiz is based on the reading material. Now, who here has managed to get their hands on the book? Who here has tried reading the book? Who here has enjoyed and successful in reading this book? Okay, good. No one raised their hands. Okay. The one thing I've learned in my 20 plus years of experience is technical books are not made to be read like Harry Potter. They're there for references. In the back of the book, you have an index. If you have to look up something if you have to do something about select statements, update statements, go into the index, find that section, read about it there. In your reading assignment page, every week of this prep and reading, you're going to have a PowerPoint slide, and you're going to have a bunch of links to go with it. Here's what is MySQL, how to install MySQL, okay? Video tutorials, and various other websites. Everything that's under the reading assignment, you should be looking over and just perusing, because a lot of the questions in the quizzes come from these links and not the book. The quizzes you take are open book, open notes, open internet, open friend, open whatever, and you get 2 chances to get a great score. So you're there on that front. So you're good there. And every week we'll also have exercises. The exercises will be questions for you to write code to show me you know what the code is. On Wednesdays, I will go over that so you guys know what you're doing and have a better understanding of it if you're not getting it from the book. Eventually, some of you are going to figure out that a lot of the questions in the exercise have the answers in the back of the book. I tell you this openly because eventually everyone's going to think it's a big secret and everyone's going to like, oh, we should know this. They're in the back of the book. I don't have a problem with that because if you're having trouble writing the code and you go see what it is, you can reverse engineer it and understand how the code is written that way. There are questions starting in week 5 that are not in the back of the book. So you have until week 4 to have all the answers in the back of the book. You can figure it out that way and going forward. Okay. Everyone with me so far? Any questions? Am I going too fast? Am I talking too fast? No. Okay, cool. So I talked about the papers. I talked about the exercises. I talked about the quizzes. Now.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go for it.
Jason was trying to talk, but his microphone's not working.
Oh, no. Are you in the chat, Jason? Oh. If your mic's not working, pop into the chat and I'll keep it open here so I can see if anyone's saying anything. I'll wait for a moment. Okay, well, while we're waiting for Jason's question. So you've got your exercises, you've got your papers, and you've got your quizzes, okay? At the end of the semester, some things I didn't solve showed like 15 things to solve. That's fine. That's fine. As long as you end up with this, as long as you end up with the workbench, you're fine. All right. I'll talk about that in a second. The other important thing to know, and I know this is week 1. I know we've got 13 weeks ahead of 14 weeks ahead of us, but at the end of the semester, next week we need to make a choice. In this class, you can either do a final exam or do a final project. The final exam is 200 some odd questions, all based on the questions from the quizzes. It's open book. 2 times the charm to get it right. Boom, you're done. The final project is something we instituted a couple of years ago. And the reason why we did is because this is a database design and administration class. And prior to the final project being there was no aspect of database design in this class whatsoever. So the final project, we're going to go more into detail about this next week. I'm just going to kind of give you the highlights of it. And next week, we'll look at the page. We'll talk about the actual requirements. The final project for this class is to design a database for an application that you think should exist, and then design the table structure, design the data structure, design the queries to get the data out of it, do a mock-up of the front end, and put data in the database and make it work. In the past, I've had students, one student last semester did a database application to track the local parks in his area. So he wrote this database, he did the structure, so he can go and write a query, show me all the parks in the area of the volleyball courts, and it would come up. Show me all the parks that have got slides, all the parks that have got dog parks in them. I've had students do any number of recipe books, any number of different collections like comic books, records, books, things like that. So it's kind of like, this is like, what's an application that you wish existed? And what does the database back end of that look like? And how would you design it? Now, in week 1, this is a little intimidating. By about week 4 or 5, the vast majority of you are going to understand how to do this, because I talk a lot about how to design databases on these Wednesday calls. I talk about the normalizations. I talk about how tables are made. I talk about how tables talk to each other. You'll hear me use the phrase the flow of data a lot, because data flows. And if it doesn't flow right, you get stoppages and you don't get the data out the right way. Okay. So we'll talk about that an awful lot. If you choose to do the final project, the weekly writing assignment changes. If you choose to do the final project as opposed to the final exam, your weekly papers become essentially a journal entry telling me where you're at in your project. So you'll, like, week 1, I've decided I'm doing the project. I think I'm going to design a database that keeps track of how I plant seeds in my garden and what their yield is, and what months they should go in and whatever, and just kind of snowball that idea and then grow from there. No pun intended on the garden thing. And then every week you just kind of build on that, saying, okay, I've decided on this, and here's where I've gone this week, and here's where I've gone this week, and here's where I've gone this week. So that's important to realize, that once you decide the final project is where you're going to go, then immediately that week, your weekly papers change to communications with me about how the project is going. Okay. Any questions on that? We're going to talk more about that later, how the final project works, but any starting questions on that?
So as far as I understand, we have to choose like the project this week. Like if we have to take the exam or the project?
Nope, you can decide. So the project is due on week 13. I've literally had students decide on week 11 they were going to do it.
Oh, okay.
This is a phenomenally bad idea and don't do it. Decide week 3 or 4, because it takes a good 6-7 weeks to really flesh out the project, get it done right, and do it. So, we'll talk more about this. About week 3 or 4, you should be going like, I think I'm gonna do the project at this point. Everything about the project sits in the week 2 assignment, because that's where they want you to really decide, because that gives you the 11 weeks to work on it, and that takes about 11 weeks. And keep in mind, this is the semester that we deal with Thanksgiving, and then we deal with Halloween and whatnot. So we have some weeks where there's going to be missing days and stuff like that, so shorter weeks. So and based on your course load, you really kind of want to decide but you don't have to do this week. You can decide week 4 or 5, whatever. And then feel free to email me, contact me, and discuss your ideas with me. I try to be as available as I can, via whatever means I have to talk to you by. So if you have an idea for just remember that I'm Eastern Standard Time. So, I had a student in Russia last year who forgot the time zone change and called me at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that was fun, but it was cool though. But keep that in mind, kind of churn that around. It's really, I have yet to have someone not get a great grade on it and not enjoy the experience, because a lot of you who are following I've had a couple students when we first started this who are in the development track have gone on to develop the front end of the application and actually make it a living application. So it can actually be a stepping stone to a lot of different things. Okay, so I think that covers everything about the courses now. Everyone good? Okay, so I want to touch on, so this generally goes from till about 10:30 Eastern time, depending on how much we have to talk about. The first couple weeks up until about week 7, 8, or 9, we spend the majority of the time talking about the exercises, the code, the T-SQL, and then the rest of the time talking about projects, ideas, how to design databases, any topics and any questions that you guys have about it. Starting about week 9, we talk almost exclusively about projects. People bring their projects in. We brainstorm them. We show them up. We talk about how to normalize them, how to do that. So so until about week 9, it's predominantly coding. Week 10 on, we're talking about projects and how to do them and stuff. Okay, so there's 2 other things I want to talk about. The first thing, I just want to give you a quick overview on the languages we're going to use. And then I'm going to talk today about your writing assignment for week 2, because it's a weird one. And I'm also going to talk, because the writing assignment for not the writing, there is no writing assignment in week 2. It's actually a video project. So let me talk about that first. So in week 2, let me pull that up so you see this assignment. In week 2, we have this reverse engineering a website. Okay. With this, what you're supposed to do is, and we're gonna walk through this right now. I'm gonna talk to you what it does. This is, so you're gonna reverse engineer a website. You're going to make me a short video on Zoom or whatever else you want to do it on. Okay. And you're going to go to a website and you're going to hypothesize how you think the back end looks. You're going to kind of tell me, like, what do you think the tables look like, how the data flows. It's like a 2 to 3 minute thing. So there's 2 reasons for this writing this assignment. Number 1 is we want you to start thinking about, when you look at a website, how does the back side of it look? How does the database look? How does the table, I mean, you guys are just like in week 2, you're just starting to understand how tables look, how they work. but we want you guys to start thinking like, how would this table, if I were going to make this table, what would this table? The other reason is, who here has ever dealt with Proctorio before? And no one's dealt with Proctorio? Okay. Who thinks Proctorio is a good thing? It's not. It's actually known malware. It's bad for your computer. So what we decided to do, so the purpose of Proctorio, every class is supposed to have one Proctorio exam to prove you are. So if Desiree or Jason or Maya take a test, we see your face while you're taking the test, so we know it's actually you. We need to do that once and one time only, right? Or we can have each of you submit a video assignment. Nathan, you have your hand up. What's up? Nathan, is your hand actually up? Oh, he's not. Okay. So if you do, what?
I said, whoops.
Oh,
I had it up for the raise your hand if you've used
Oh.
off Proctorio.
oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah. Okay,
Forgot to put it back down.
No, no problem. What was I saying? Oh, so if you guys, if all the classes submit a 2 to 3 minute video, explain between 5 and 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minute video explaining the website, then we don't have to do a Proctorio exam. So this is for the common good. So what this is asking you to do, it's really quite simple. So let's go to one of my TCG player. Okay. This one I'll go to? Yeah. No, that's not. Okay, so I'm going to go to this website here, and I'm going to go to this part that talks about Magic the Gathering. And I'm going to go to this part here that looks for specific cards. So I want to go here, and I want to do Magic the Gathering, and I want to go this one here. Okay, so in my video, I'm going to bring up this website and say, hey, this is a collectible card game website. And this is what I think the table looks like, the database looks like behind the scenes. We probably have a table that's got a column for set name, a column for price, a column for type of item. It's probably got a table that, so I'm just going to go through what I think the tables look like. It's really just a talking thing. You don't have to do any, I don't know if it says it needed to draw something, you're lying. It's just ignore this part. This is all lies. This isn't here. By the way, I didn't write this course. I didn't write any of the quizzes or the exams. I didn't write any of the pages or the exercises. I'm just using it. I will change it to meet my preferences. So all I want in this video from you guys is you talking to me about what you think the tables behind the scenes look like here. Okay, just how you think the tables are built, what you think is in them, what columns you think exist. You want to get fancy, tell me what data types you think are in there. Okay, just so I can begin to see where your understanding is. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, it's not that big. And this is kind of the fun here, because I will know who doesn't watch the Wednesday night videos by watching these videos. Anyone who whips out a spreadsheet and starts explaining things to me, I know didn't watch this video. And even if you stop coming to these Wednesday nights, please always watch these videos, because there's always a lot of information in here that explains a lot of the things that are going on that week. And it's easy to lose track of what's going on. Okay, so next week for week 2, 5 to 10 minute video. Upload, if you upload it to someplace that uses a password, make sure you give me the password so I can look at it. If you do YouTube, if you save it in Zoom and loop it to a YouTube channel, that's fine. However it is, just I need to be able to watch it. I need to be able to respond to it. And like I said, it's just talk about the website, how you think the back end looks, and just kind of like start the juices flowing and like understanding how databases work on the backside of things. Okay. Any question on that? No, okay, good. So the last thing we're going to talk about today, and I'll open up to any questions you have, is I just want to start giving you guys an idea of how the language of SQL works. So back probably in the, I want to say late 80s, early 90s, databases started to become a thing. And they came up with a language. So who here programs in like C#, C++, Java, JavaScript, HTML? Who here codes? Okay, cool. When you're talking about coding language, they're not super simple to follow. They've got weird syntaxes. They're not like basic English. They've got syntax they got to follow and things you got to do. So when they started coming up with a programming language for SQL for databases, in my head, I imagine them sitting around going, "We got to make this simple." Okay. So when you're talking about, so the language is called T-SQL. It stands for Transactional Structured Query Language. Okay. And we're going to get to the transactional part in the next couple of weeks. I'm not talking about that, but structured query language is the anatomy of a query is basic and fundamental and easy to solve and in plain English. Okay. But before we get to that, there's two basic groupings of commands in Transact SQL. The first one is called DDL. That stands for Data Definition Language. These are the commands that define the data. These are the commands that make the objects that house the data. Create, this will come as a shock to many of you, but create makes things. Modify changes things, and drop deletes them. So again, the commands here are very English and straightforward. Create, modify, and drop. Create item, create table, create database, create trigger, create whatever. Modify table, modify trigger, modify whatever, and drop, which deletes it. It does delete it forever. You can never get it back. It's called definition language because these are the things that we create to house the data, to put it in a structure so we can find it, use it, and make sense of it. The next set of commands are DML, data manipulation language. These are the commands that we use to get the data out of the table, put the data in the table, change the data in the table, or delete the table in the table. So select gets it out, insert puts it in, update changes it, and delete gets rid of it. I do have a command there called truncate, and that is kind of like a DML command. So I'm going to explain it right now. We'll talk about it more later. So whenever you run a select, insert, update, or delete command, right? When the database engine pulls the data out, it pulls it out one row at a time, or what I like to call RBAR, row by agonizing row. Okay. So if I ran a delete statement, let's say I had a table and I had 100 rows of data in that table, and I deleted the 100 rows from that table using the delete command, it would delete one row at a time. And it would do it 100 times until it was all done. Okay. A truncate command just deletes everything at once and doesn't look back. So if you have one row or a jiggity billion rows in a table, you run that truncate command, it gets everything, rid of everything at once, and there's no looking back, and it's gone, it's empty. It's like a solid flush and it's gone. Okay. But these are the two main types of queries, or they're technically called clauses, that you're going to be using in this class. Now, knowing this, I talked about structured query language, which means there is a definitive, specific structure to every query that you're going to write. be it a select statement, an insert statement, an update statement, delete statement, it's all going to be the same thing. And this is your basic anatomy. Select, from, and where. So if I was writing a query to get information from a table, the first question I would ask is, what do I want to know? That's my select statement. My select statement tells me what columns I want from the table return. So let's take a quick look over here. So you'll be using the Sakilla database. So I have all these are my table, actor, address. Also, one thing, notice here, except for this one, because I messed up. Table names are not plural. It's not actors, it's actor. It's the actor table. I made this one called the persons table because I wasn't thinking clearly when I did it. But yeah, so these are all singular. So here's my table, and here are my columns in my table. Okay. So my select query is, what columns do I want out of this table presented? My from clause tells me what tables I want it from. And my where clause tells me how I want it presented. Do I want to put any limits on it? So if I did, so here's as you guys start writing your queries, here's a quick cheat that you can do. Let's say I want to get the last name from the actor table. It's drag and drop. It's a wonderful thing. It'll change your life.
That's cool.
Here's another one. Ready? Watch this. Right click this, and you go to send a SQL editor, and you go select all statement, and it writes the query for you. Life-changing stuff on day one, people. This changes everything. I do this now because last semester I showed this on week 12, and there was like a great wailing and gnashing of teeth asking why I didn't do this on week 1. So there you go, week 1, all this fun stuff. So, and when I run this, when I'm in the engine here, when I'm in the workbench, if I highlight it and hit the little arrow, it just runs what's highlighted. Oh, huh. And what I didn't do is this. I didn't tell it what database to use. Okay, so I have select first name from actor, and I run that, and it gives me my first names from my actors. It's just English. It really is. Where first name like starts with a J, and I run this. And I show you this on day 1. I'm not gonna get into much more coding. That's the extent. Next week I'll do a lot more coding and have more fun with select statements and show you the stuff you can play with. But that's how simple these queries are. It is not, your fundamental queries are always structured the same. There's always a where, a what am I doing? Where am I doing it from? And how am I making it look? Your select statements, your insert statements are a little bit different. Your update statements, your lead statements, they all have the from and the where. They all can have the from and the where. All right. So that covers everything I wanted to cover for tonight. It's a lot of information for day 1. Mostly housekeeping stuff on how the class runs. Okay, a couple other housekeeping things I want to think about it. I take late work until week 12. I have learned, I think my announcement I put early today or yesterday, something I have yet to have a semester where I didn't have one student have a child born, once a year where a parent hasn't been ill or passed away. We had all of 2020, which was COVID, and everyone got sick. Something always comes up. There's always something that gets in the way of getting things done. I understand that. All I ask is that you communicate with me, say you're running a bit late, and you have until week 12 to turn in everything. After week 12, I don't take anything, including week 12. So if you're late with week 12, I don't accept it after week 12. Okay. my goal here is to make sure you guys, if you guys work with me and understand this stuff and do the work, you'll pass. I have yet to have someone who doesn't work with me not pass the class. But so it's important. Late work, I'm always willing to accept late work as long as you let me know what's going on. Hey, I got sick this week. Hey, anyone here in the reserves for the military? Because I always got at least 1 or 2 of those, which is cool too. Yeah, so we covered all the stuff, the papers. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about me, for me, about the class, what to expect, how to do something? Thoughts or concerns, fears?
I have a question about installing the SQL.
Sure.
I do have a Mac and I was trying to use like the command lines like it said, and I couldn't get it to work.
Okay.
Can I not just do it a different way? Like, can I Google it and just figure it out?
Yeah, if you get, yeah, I've been using that most part. Somewhere I've got a document on how to do it. But you can Google and figure it out. I'm all for Googling and figuring it out. You can also call the tech support line. And they'll help you out too.
Okay, because the SQL is different than the Workbench, right?
Yeah, so the Workbench is the front end to the database. So the
Okay.
database is the engine that runs behind the scene. The Workbench is on top of it.
Yeah, so you have to somehow get the SQL on there.
Yeah, and with Mac OS, I know there's challenges in doing it. I know it's not impossible because everyone does it. But yeah, you can Google the answer. You can call the help desk, and I will try to dig up the. There was a document that one of the other teachers provided 2 years ago that I've got somewhere in my files to do it. But yeah, any way you can do it, do it.
Okay.
And so we used to with this class, we used to have to use Oracle, and we would download virtual machines and everything, and that was a nightmare to run. So now when you just install it, it's much easier, except on Macs.
I know, it's been annoying for a lot of my classes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Macs are great. My son has a Mac, and he actually dual booted it, so he's got a Windows on it and Mac. So
That's what my husband said to do. He's like, you should just do like, I can't remember what he called it, but yeah, basically have like the Windows and your Mac. And I don't know, I guess I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be, I don't know where you are in school, but if you're going to be doing a lot of stuff here in school, Windows is the more user-friendly application to put stuff on. And if you have enough, it all comes down to you have enough space on your hard drive to do it.
Yeah.
If you can partition a space on your hard drive to dual boot into Windows, you will need to buy a Windows license, but because you're a student, it's like $35. So you all been to the software store and see what you can buy for like ridiculously low money? Anyone wants Adobe, it's like $5 a month. For the first year. After that, it's like 10,000. But yeah, whatever, wherever you can find the answers, but call the help desk, Google it. If you can't find it, I'll look up that one paper. Because you're not going to be dual booting your Mac anytime soon. It takes a while to get that thing done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Look what this amazing background is here. Anyone know what the background is?
Which doctor is your favorite?
Oh, that's a good one. 4. I've been watching since I was 9 years old. So yeah, the 4th Doctor. I actually started 3 months ago. I started watching from number 1 all the way back up because the 60th anniversary was next year. So I'm watching 60 years of Doctor Who in 8 months. It's a lot of
Holy
Doctor Who.
goodness.
Yeah, I'm just about halfway through the 3rd Doctor right now. So gotta love streaming services because they got everything. All right.
There's like what, 14 doctors now?
Yeah. The new guy, I don't know what his name is. He'll be the 14th Doctor as of next year when he starts. Yep. It's been going for 60 years. It's the longest running science fiction show in the world. Yeah, I started watching it in 78, 79. Yep. So I'm old. I'm 52. Y'all are like, Yeah, that's cool. Anything else? All right.
I don't have anything.
All right, cool. So you have my announcements, you have my number, you have my email address, you've got my Gmail address and my BYU address. You can get in touch with me via anything along those lines through Messenger here, through the announcements and stuff like that. If you have any questions, if you text me, let me know you're a student, not a spammer, which is important. And like, hey, I'm from your CIT 225 class. And I will, texting me gets the answer the fastest. Well, no, calling me gets the answer the fastest. Texting me the second fastest. Anything else is when I see it. All right, and then just enjoy the class. This class is a lot of fun. I really enjoy teaching it. This is my 7th year teaching it. I think database is just fun. My wife thinks I'm crazy when I'm talking about, like, you know, designing databases in the flow. And if I could, I would, like, the room I'm in now, I'd like just paint one wall so I could do white erase boards, dry erase boards, and I would just draw. When I did this in the classroom, I had like 4 walls that were dry erase, and I would design database that was one all around everything. And it's just a lot of fun to do this stuff. So, but anyway, okay. If there's nothing else, have a good night. Enjoy this week. And we'll meet again next Wednesday. I will take this, I will upload it to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. And because I've got 25, I've got 25 followers. I am rocking this. Every semester I got 5 more. It's very exciting for me. But also when you get to the channel with all the YouTube, with all the videos, all of my previous class videos are there. So if it's week 3 and something's not, you don't quite understand it, you can do any other classes in week 3. It's all the same stuff. I just may have explained it slightly different. So, all right. If nothing else, you guys have a great night. And yeah, go ahead.
Yes, just one question. This is Quimerio Fernandez.
Hi.
I got a little late. So, teacher, are you going to share with us the address of the channel where we're going to upload the video?
For next week, week 2?
Yes.
Oh, there's no place you upload it to. It's just you can either upload it to, I think BYUI, your personal space has got some place to put it, or you can put it up on YouTube, or you can just email me the file, put it up somewhere else.
Okay.
But I don't have any place for you to upload files to like that.
Okay. Thank
This is
you.
your personal. Yep. No problem.
Are we using Shell? Do you want us to use Shell in any instance?
What do you mean shell?
Sorry.
The SQL shell.
Yes.
Oh, no, I want you, I ultimately you're going to use Workbench. I don't use the CLI. Okay, I'm going to color it. I don't like the CLI. The CLI is just showing off. It's just, it's like, look how hard my job is because I'm using the command line interface. Oh, it's so difficult. I did that. So when I started being a DBA, I would take my screen and I would make the command prompt huge. I would turn it green like the old CRTs, and I would code everything through that. It made my job look so freaking hard. And everyone's like, how do you even do that? But the thing is, it was hard for me too, because it's hard to do it through that.
Yes.
Just use the Workbench. I mean, you have to talk about the CLI. Tell me you like it, tell me you don't. But everything else, just do it through the Workbench because life is easier in the Workbench.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. I wasn't gonna poison the well on that one, but I think the CLI is just, it's just showing off. It's just look how cool I am. Anyway. All right, anything else? Cool beans. All right. Have a great week, guys. I will see you next week.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Bye.